Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Today's interview is with Natalie Brown. Natalie is a Canadian-born meditation guide. She's the author of another book that I've gifted, Learn How to Meditate, a beginner's step-by-step guide and 90-day journal. She's a mindful vocalist as well as a spiritual seeker, songwriter, and storyteller. She's currently certifying to be a life coach because she really wants to support others on their personal journeys. And so what's cool is in this interview, she takes us through some of her journey. And she gets really vulnerable in talking about how she was, her childhood, she was raised as an atheist, but in her life, she became just a born-again, hardcore evangelical Christian. And then she talks about kind of what led her into more of her spiritual journey. And she talks about how she's had a few different moments in her life, but a big one was around 2018, 2019, when she had like a mental health crisis. She was saying she spent almost a year just in bed. And so she talks about how meditation helped her out of that. And so she's got a really interesting story. And actually right now, when we recorded, she currently lives in Uganda in Africa. So we had to get our time zones to line up and everything. And we actually had to stop recording, re-record, because in Africa, I guess sometimes they just turn the internet off. The government just turns the internet off. Anyway, we did what we had to do and we got this done. And it was a really great interview. We talked about just more things that have to do with meditation. We dug in a little deeper than we have before. We talked about some of the different vocab, stuff we hear about, mantras. We talked about if we should all be saying namaste or not. We talk about what's it mean to set our intention? How do we go about setting our intention? We talk about breathwork. We talk about all kinds of stuff, all the different kinds of meditation. She gives us great tips for people who have ADHD, tips to help with their meditation journey. And so we just talk about all kinds of good stuff. So I'm excited for you guys to hear this. She's really cool and she's really just chill to talk to. So I'm glad we were able to line up and get this done for you guys. Let's jump in. Let's hear all about Natalie. Hey, Natalie, thanks for being here today. I'm so excited, you guys. Natalie is coming to us from Uganda. She is in a whole different time zone right now, you guys. So we're excited that she took the time to meet with us. So one of the first things I like to ask people is about their spiritual journey, only because I think hearing other people's stories, sometimes it helps us feel like we're not alone, like we're not the only one going through some stuff, or you know what I mean, when you get to that point. So was there a moment for you when you knew things had to change? You may not have even known you were starting a spiritual journey, but you were like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I gotta change it. Was there that for you?
I'm a weirdo in that regard because I've had several of those from when I was really young, actually. My family was atheist, pretty much. My mom, I think, was probably animist in a way because she loved to take me to graveyards and be like, everyone's in the flowers and the trees and, from very young.
Okay.
But I joined a Baptist church when I was, probably 6. The bus would come around to the neighborhood.
So that's a 180 right there. From atheism to baptism? Wow.
And it's crazy because the story gets really weirder.
Okay. I love
if you can imagine. So my parents, I guess, were like, okay, my dad was quite anti-religion. He was very anti-theist, really, in a way. But they, wanted us to have a proper social thing. And church was the thing to do. I was raised in Canada, and this was when I was living in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I did that thing, and I had a few people prophesy over me in a really, strange way, how they do. And some interesting things were said. And then, I kind of departed from that. And then when I was 14, I became a hardcore born-again Christian. I was in ministry even. I was a worship singer. I toured with Ron Canoli.
You were out saving people.
I was. Literally, I was preaching to people at 7-Eleven. Like, I'm
Okay.
serious.
No.
And I was hardcore because I had quite a troubled childhood. And so I think I was always just seeking to belong.
Mhm.
I really wanted a family. And, back in those days, they were like the family of God, and music was a big part of it. And I was a huge person into music. So
Yes, you're a
got me,
musician.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from 14 to about 21, I was pretty hardcore. And then I had gotten married quite young at 19 to my first husband, who was a born again Christian. That's how I got into that whole thing. But then I was like, this is a bunch of bullshit. I started to really be like, I was going around to mega churches. I was touring in mega churches, and it was crazy, the shit that I saw. Like, I was like, this is not better.
The behind the scenes is probably like,
Yeah.
what in the heck?
Uh-huh. Like, the secular world was cleaner to me, quite frankly, from what I saw. That was my experience.
Yes.
And I had some things happen to me that were horrible, that were just
Within
very
the church.
sexist. Yes. Oh, very sexist, very punitive, very. I was cute back then, and man, they did not like that. I was causing my brother to stumble and, all this stuff. I'm like, well, your brother needs to control his nether region parts. Yeah, no, seriously. So,
right. Like, oh, your skirt's a little too short, Nat. Like, craziness.
Oh, no, everything. Like, I can't help how big my tits are, and I'm
Oh, you
sorry,
cannot.
but you should not look at them. Just don't look at them. Like,
right. This isn't my fault.
yeah. I got blamed, and so it created a lot of psychological damage. So I went through my first spiritual awakening. I went through a pretty awful divorce at 23. I was married at 19, divorced at 23. I was pretty much suicidal. I went through all of it. It was really, I was so lost, and I think it's funny. They talk about us having a midlife crisis at this age. I think some people go through a midlife, like a quarter life crisis.
Early.
And I think I went through one of those.
I think we go through like all kinds of freaking crises.
I think so too. Like every 25 years or 20 years.
Yeah, it's going to creep up every decade.
I got a stack of O magazines from somewhere. I can't remember where I got them. Someone just gave them, and I was reading through them, and I got introduced to like law of attraction. Oprah was into all that stuff back in those days, and I sort of got my first taste of it. The Law of Attraction movie came out in like the early-ish 2000s. I can't remember what year exactly. And I was going through a lot, my career and all that stuff as a musician and all these things that were going on. And I really struggled a lot with my mental health. And so I turned to these things, but not in a full way. I was still conflicted. So I just started sampling all kinds of religions, like, Judaism, Buddhism, all different kind of philosophies. And I ate it all up. And
so you're reading books at this point, or were you attending services?
No, I was reading books. I didn't have the ability.
It.
I was on tour. I was I had I was living out of a suitcase at that time. So I was literally just reading books.
No, yeah, you were just grabbing onto whatever you could get a hold of.
Yeah. And talking to people, like meeting on the road, you meet all kinds of people. So you're talking to people. So that was in my 20s. And then I guess I would have considered myself to be spiritual, not religious at that point. And actually, that is the time when I first got introduced around 2006 to meditation. And I started doing meditation off and on. So the years went by. And then I ended up in Uganda in 2016. We moved to Kenya in 2015. 2016, I ended up in Uganda. My music career was falling apart because you're a grandmother when you're in your 40s. Like,
yeah.
You can't, unless you're famous, you're not doing very much. A lot of things were taking over. We were doing music licensing. So things were falling apart for me. My mother had passed away in 2013 of cancer. And then my grandmother passed away in 2018. She had Alzheimer's, and she was in England. And I had to go to England and deal with her entire affairs, which was a holy mess.
Oh, God.
And I got stuck there for 3 months. Yeah. And I got stuck there for 3 months, and I started to feel like I was just losing it, and I was breaking down. I came back home to Uganda after I settled everything. And I was here for a bit, and then I went home to Canada to visit my family. And then I came home, and I literally had a nervous breakdown. I literally fell apart. Actually, all of 2019, I was bedridden. I couldn't get up to pee. My husband had to help me get up. I was lost. I had hit like rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it was during this time that I was like, something's got to change. So this, I think, would be the biggest spiritual epiphany for me.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I turned back to meditation. Then COVID hit. I got COVID really bad at the beginning, and I had it for months.
Yep.
And it was like really awful because there's no proper care here. You know, it was really and when I got it, it was right before it was known as COVID. It was like literally 2 months before
everybody labeled it.
Right before. And I definitely had it. Like I couldn't breathe. I was being propped up to breathe. Like my husband was like, do you need to go back to Canada? Because like no one can figure out what's wrong with you here. But now I know that it was COVID. So I got really, really sick. 2018, 2019, I was out of it. And then I just started seeking. I started going back to my meditation practice. I learned about human design. And then now I know as a, 5-1 splenic projector, what happened was I had projector burnout is essentially, I think, what happened.
Oh, you're a projector.
Yeah, I'm a projector.
Okay. I'm a manifester.
Oh, are you? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So I'm a projector and I learned about projector burnout and all these things. And I started researching everything, Jen. Like I was like researching MBTI. I was researching Enneagram. I mean, like everything. Cause I had to figure my shit out. Right?
Yep.
So I really dug in at that point. And then the whole world shut down anyway. And then that's when I decided to take my meditation practitioner certificate. And that's actually how the book came about. Cause I was literally just taking notes.
Yes.
And I was like, just turned my notes into the book, really. So yeah, I think it was at that point. I've had many epiphanies along the way and introductions to spirituality, but I think this one, for me, I read, and a lot of women our age, like I'm turning 50 this year, I'm 49. I think a lot of women our age go through this thing where we start cutting out the BS. We start trying to figure out who we really are instead of trying to pretend and perform. And a lot of women have to perform or pretend because you've got kids, you've got families, you've got work, you've got all this shit that you got to do. And for me, I was also an artist, so I was a persona, like, and I didn't actually know who I was without that persona. And I think that's what caused me to break down. I was like, who the hell am I? I don't know.
Right. If I'm not this famous musician, who am I?
Natalie Brown, the performer, the musician, what am I here for? But like, I thought this was my destiny, And so it started the whole process for me. That breakdown started a lot of stuff rolling for me. Now we are here several years later with much more learning and wisdom and understanding. I'm now studying to be a life coach. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, the school that I'm going to was, I was looking to become an Enneagram coach and I found this school. It's out of South Africa. And there was this masterclass they did and it was on purpose. And it was funny because the lady, she has this fable that she wrote. And there was this masterclass and she said, if you were an apple tree and you didn't know you were an apple tree, how would you know what to do? And I sat there and I was like, yeah, like for real.
Yeah.
And it was just about being. It was learning about being. We are so focused, especially in North American society, on doing. You are your job. Hi, your name's so-and-so. What do you do?
Right. What's your job?
Not who are you?
Right. And then if we don't have a major career, we're like embarrassed to answer. And it's stupid.
Who are you? You're nobody. Right. But guess what? You're somebody just because you're here on earth and your purpose, your doing comes out of the very essence of you just being. And that's where meditation also comes in because it really helped me to just sit in myself, which is really hard. I struggle with racing thoughts and overactive mind and all these things. And meditation really is the thing that gives me the space to just observe and say, okay, this is your mind and your body, but you're this spiritual being and you're just here to be and have a human experience, in a human body as your spiritual self.
Yes.
And that was really big for me. It might not be big for other people, but for me as on the Enneagram, I'm a 3 with a 2 wing. And so I'm a very goal focused, achieving focused, winner focused person. Dropping that is hard. It's very hard, but it's the best thing that I've done for myself. You've done. I'm stuck in a tiny little village in southwestern Uganda, bordering Congo and Rwanda, right?
So yes, how did you end up there? Did you choose? Were you just like, I feel pulled to there, or was there a job, or what?
So my husband's Ugandan by his nationality. So he was born in Kenya to 2 Ugandan parents who were working there in the 70s and in the 80s. And then, so his grandfather was in the first government in Uganda was the ambassador to America. Okay. So he ended up going to United States. So he only lived in Africa till he was about 15, and then he went to the United States. And then we lived in the US for a really long time, and then we moved to Canada, and we were just not happy. We were really not happy. A lot of stuff was changing and shifting for us. obviously the racial issues are an issue. I mean, everyone thinks Canada is so perfect, but they have very covert racism at that time.
Oh, because everyone's like, oh no, those Canadians are so nice. And they are. I know some Canadians are nice.
I will say,
but
yeah, Canadians generally are, but there's also a lot of immigrants who bring their crappy attitudes to the country, but there's also racists there.
So there's some racism going on.
Oh yeah, definitely there is. Yeah. And it's more insidious in a way because it's totally covert. It's a very, it's hard to describe it unless you've kind of experienced it, but
you just feel that underlying feeling. They might not be directly saying it to you, but you know it, you feel it.
Well, yeah. Or they'll literally say stuff to your face. Like one person accused my husband of we were downtown Toronto. We were living in Queen West and we were walking down the street and this guy asks us, oh, which bus do I take to get to wherever? And we were like, we don't know. We don't take the bus. And he goes, yeah, you do. You don't have a car. Like just looking at us and looking at him, making the assumption. Super
judgy.
Yeah. Ugh. And that we were outside at Tim Hortons one day and this bum, he was a wino. He literally comes up to my husband. He's like, yeah, so you're a taxi driver, eh?
Like what?
He's like, no, I do. I'm an engineer and I do marketing.
Aren't people like wacky crazy, out right? there? There are some.
Yeah, and then we got chased a few times in pickup trucks and some weird stuff happened. So
you're out of there.
Yeah, my husband came to me. He was like, I wish I could rip my skin off, but I can't.
That's
I
ridiculous.
think I'm going to move to Kenya. I want to move to Kenya. I know you've never been there and I haven't been home in 30 years. So I totally understand if you don't want to come, but what do you think? And I was like, fuck it, let's go.
Let's just
go.
Why not?
So we literally sold everything we had. We packed our lives into 6 suitcases and we moved to Kenya. And we were there for a while. And then it turned out because the political stuff had changed there, even though he was born there, he could live there, but it was difficult for me to get my visa. So we ended up coming to Uganda because that's where it was easier for me to get a spousal visa that way. Okay. Kenya now changed their constitution in 2010 that you're no longer Kenyan unless you have 2 Kenyan born parents. So it's weird for people who were born, back in the 60s and had one. His parents were Ugandan. So they're kind of trying to go by tribal stuff.
Okay.
From what we heard, the reason they did that is because what's the country above where Al-Shabaab is? South Sudan and all those countries. People were faking birth certificates with one Kenyan parent. People were taking a bribe to pretend they were someone's parent to get them to get across the border because it was safer in Kenya.
Okay, yeah.
So they changed it. They changed the constitution. So it's complicated, but
so every country is complicated. We think in the U.S. we're the only complicated ones. Nope, everyone's complicated.
I know, right? No, everywhere is. It is, yeah. So we ended up packing our stuff up and driving from Nairobi to Kampala, which was a crazy drive, driving all through the country. And I did a video actually on my YouTube channel of our whole drive, which was kind of cool. So we came here and we just planted ourselves and started a life here. And we've been here for 9 years. We are actually moving back to Canada because both of us are changing career stuff and we need to be in a more technologically stable environment to do that. So we're going to be leaving. But we lived in the capital for quite a while in Kampala. And then his family, my husband, Jeremy, his family decided to build a house near their town where their tribe is, where they're from. So his grandfather is quite famous. There's a school dorm named after him in this Chigezi district and all this stuff. So they have land because a lot of people here just have land because it's their birthright to have land.
Okay.
So they decided to build a family. Everyone in his nuclear family lives in the United States, but they want to come and retire here and can't come for vacations and whatever. So my husband helped to spearhead a building project in this village called Chobugombe. And so we came here 2 years ago and to help finish up the building and do all that stuff. So it's been this has been really quite an adventure because we're on borehole. We have electricity backup.
Yeah, no, because before we even recorded this, you're like, okay, I don't know. Sometimes the internet just is gone in Uganda. The government sometimes just
it is. Yeah.
Okay. So
they do. They just shut it off. Yeah.
They just shut it off.
They do. Yeah.
But we're here. You guys, it's on now. We're just going to keep recording. So there's 2 books that I gifted a ton of people, and yours is one of them. Because what I loved is it has the journal's already in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it because you have to buy a separate journal to journal about each meditation to figure it all out. It's in the book already. Yep. And then it kind of breaks things down. Okay. So I love the part in your book because sometimes people think meditation is just all woo-woo, all whatever. But really, over the span of time, every religion has practiced a form of meditation. Everyone's doing it.
Yes.
Right? And I love that in your book, you listed like a few different ones, right?
Yeah.
Like there's contemplative prayer. Who else is out there meditating?
Hindu religion practices japa mala and mantra meditation. You probably know about mala beads. That's the whole point of that.
Little prayer beads.
Catholics, in a way, practice something similar where they're using the bead as a way to focus their attention.
Yes.
Kabbalistic meditation in the Jewish faith. Metta from the Buddhist tradition, metta meditation, where it's like a loving kindness. I love that one. That's one of my favorite ones to do. In Theravada Buddhism, there's the meditation on death. I don't know if you know that one, which is a very interesting one. It's a reflection of your mortality.
Oh, no, I haven't done that one.
Yeah, Sufism is a mystical branch of Islam. They have remembrance of God through the repetition of his names. There's, shamanistic trance states, Zazen meditation in Zen Buddhism. Even things like the Sikh Simran is another one, meditating on the name of God. So you can see the similarities. There's a Native American Vision Quest, another one.
So it goes across all cultures and historically throughout time.
It does.
So we're not reinventing the wheel here. Like this isn't something new. It just might be new to you if you're listening. We're discovering
the wheel. I think Western white people are discovering the wheel, to be quite frank.
I think we're a little behind. Yeah.
We are. Yeah. We're very behind, Jen.
Stupid white folks. Yep. Yeah. No. So we're figuring it all out now. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about the benefits. There's a million benefits of meditation. Okay. We all know that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I want to dig in a little bit. So there are different types of meditation. And so when I was looking at, so there's things like focus attention meditation, a Kundalini meditation. A lot of people hear the word transcendental. So what is the difference? Or how do we decide like what type of meditation is best for us?
Right. I mean, to be honest, what I say in my book is you just got to try the different things. I know for me at the beginning, I can't sit still. Like I really struggle with it. And when I was studying the meditation practitioner certificate, one thing that was brought up is moving meditation where you walk. And if you think about it, it's funny. So, sometimes you're driving a car and you get into that weird trance state, and you get from A to B. It's kind of meditative in a way because you're not really focused on what you're doing right now. Walking can do that. Some runners, they talk about runners high. They talk about runners, doing that. But I think like candle meditations are really good. They use that a lot for people with ADHD, actually, where you focus on a candlelight, a flickering candlelight.
Okay. Like in your mind, or do you really need a candle flickering?
No, you like light a candle. You actually light a candle.
Okay, so we're lighting our candle. Okay.
Yeah, a real one. Yeah, I mean, or if you want to be safe, you can use one of those little, the ones
that you just turn on with the battery.
So if you don't want to be I'm going to burn the house down while I'm meditating, that wouldn't be good. So you can I think it's good to try different forms of it because I know for me, I was first introduced to meditation through Kundalini yoga practice and Kundalini meditation, which is crazy because that's like a hardcore. That's a pretty hardcore form of meditation.
What is Kundalini? Let's just tell everybody.
Yeah, Kundalini is the energy that comes from, I guess, the root chakra. And I'm not like my cousin's wife is actually a Kundalini practitioner, so she would be much better at explaining the whole thing to you. But it's actually just raising Kundalini energy, which does affect creativity, sexuality, spirituality. And it's crazy because when I practiced it, I had the most intense and insane dreams. And I was actually told to scale back because sometimes it can be a bit overpowering. You're tapping into a part of yourself that's quite, I don't want to say like primal. I mean, I guess it is primal, but it's, it is that spiritual it's the serpent energy,
like coming up your spine.
Energy.
You see those symbols. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where that comes from. It's the Kundalini rising, basically.
So
it's a pretty intense.
It's serious business.
Practice.
So if you're just starting your meditation practice, like I wouldn't throw on the Kundalini stuff just yet.
No, I wouldn't do it. I didn't dive into the deep end.
No.
I would go for something, it's really comes down to what the essence of meditation is, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, becoming an observer of your thoughts, really. It's about creating space between what is your mind and your body to give you that the connection to your higher self and your higher perspective. That's how I interpret it. I mean, I know there's different things. The essence is really to create space between what is you and your body and your mind, and allow space to connect to your spirit and allow you to become an observer of your thoughts and what is going on in your mind or body. Because often we're so busy in our minds and our bodies that we're not quite paying attention to the higher essence of who we are. That's what it means for me. And in different meditation traditions or practices, there may be a slightly different meaning. So I need to preface it with that. That's why I do it. And I think that's why quite a lot of people do it. So whatever can take you to that space. For some people, like I said, it's walking. It's walking in nature. For some people, it is just sitting with your spine upright, your hands in an open, receptive position, focusing on your breath and just allowing the space. Focusing on your breath, which allows you to be in touch with that rhythm.
I'm glad you said that, sitting straight up. So here's my question. Does it matter what position we're in when we're meditating? I mean, because sometimes, like when I meditate, I'll meditate sitting up, but a lot of times I'm laying down just because that's more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
But I try and keep my spine straight, like for the chakras lined up or whatever. And every once in a while, I'll even I won't realize I did this, but like my right leg will come up in that yoga position of like tree, the tree pose. And one leg will just come up and I'll be like in a laying down tree pose just out of nowhere. And so I don't know if that's like just because my body is comfortable, my lower back's comfortable that way, or I don't know why I do it. But so is that, which I know when I lay down, I'm at risk of falling asleep during meditation.
So that's the only thing. Okay. So I mean, and you remember there's also sleep meditation, and again, it's about this intention. What's the intention of your meditation? If you want to just get to a space where you're completely zoned out, and you fall asleep, then you want to probably do it lying down. Again, I do think it goes back to what is the intention of your meditation time. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it, Jen, personally. I think it's about, if I'm doing a loving kindness meditation, I'm probably going to sit up and cross-legged as that feels comfortable for me. It allows me to focus on what I'm doing in that metta meditation. If I am doing a guided meditation to try to stop my brain from working and go to sleep, I'm probably going to lie down. So I think it depends on the intention of your meditation, what you want to get out of that session as to what your position is. Some people sit in a chair, some people, lots of people sit in all kinds of different positions. And I don't think there's I think the general thing with meditation, there are some practices, yes, where you have to do certain things because you're honoring the spiritual tradition and practice of that form of meditation. But when we talk about Western meditation in the way that we know it in our Western culture now, I think you can kind of approach it however feels good for you, as long as you do it. As long as you're creating that environment that gives you the space between your higher self and your mind or body, I don't think we need to be worried about how exactly we're.
So if we are sitting up, so we're sitting up like in a comfortable chair.
Yeah.
Does it matter what our hands are doing? What should our hands be doing?
I think, again, what's comfortable for you, like if palms down on your lap feels good and you can do that, or if palms up, if you want to be like, okay, I want to give the body posture of receptiveness because I'm meditating on abundance today. Does that make me feel more receptive to have my palms up? Do I need to hug myself? Do I literally need to self-love myself? It's really what's going to make that connection for you and make you feel like you're in that spot where you can be receptive to hearing from your higher self. I really think personally that's what it comes down to. Receptivity to being in connection with our higher selves in that moment.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So it doesn't matter. I'm sure we can all Google like a million different ways, sit with your legs crossed, sit with your feet planted on the floor.
There are.
Does it matter?
Exactly. There's lotus. There's all kinds. There's different positions.
And there's no position that's like disrespectful. I mean, like where it's like, why? No, that's not okay.
I'm not an expert on that. I would say if you're studying a certain type of religion, like a more of a religious meditation, there's going to be things that are respectful and disrespectful within the context of that, that you would want to know and be mindful and heed, it's like anything. You go to a temple of a certain kind, you want to know, do you cover your head? Do you want to be respectful?
Do I cover my head and shoulders? Do I take my shoes off? What do I do?
Right.
Okay. So I want to go over just a couple terms that people use all the time. And just for my friends out there that maybe are just getting started. So we hear a lot of people talk about breathwork. So, and that's also, is that what we're talking about when we say like prana?
Pranayama, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
it's breath. That's just the, yeah.
Which is
Or
kind
prana,
of
breath,
a
yeah.
little bit of a core part of this meditation thing, right? Get back to your breath. What do we mean when you say get back to your breath? Because we're breathing all the time.
Right, exactly. So it's get back to the consciousness of your breath. So prana is a Sanskrit word. It means vitality, life force, energy. It can also be called chi. You know, you've heard different names for it. It's the universal source of energy, which is our breath. It gives us our energy, right? It makes our heart, go round and all that stuff. So when we say come back to the breath, it just means we use it as a focusing term mostly, the way I teach meditation, because a lot of times your mind will start to wander and there's nothing to focus on. So if you're not focusing, if you're not doing like a focus, like a candle meditation or focusing on an object or a mantra, you can focus on your breath. It really just comes down to using the breath as your anchoring point, saying, okay, things are going a little weird right now. Let me just come back to my breath. And I'm a big fan of square breath or box breath.
Yeah, teach us that.
Have you heard of that
technique? I have, but I know if people are just starting, I was going to ask you, what's the easiest one to just start practicing?
I'll tell you what, for me, this is an amazing technique. And when your mind is racing at night and you're trying to sleep, it's a fabulous technique to slow everything down and get your body to just come into alignment in your spirit. So what you do is you breathe in for a count of, let's say 4. Sometimes I'll do 6. It's whatever you can count.
Okay.
You take full breath in for that count. You hold it for that count. You release it for that count. And then you hold it. And you can think of a square. You're like, breathe in.
Okay, so it's the same. So it's 4, 4, 4, 4, 6, 6, 6.
Count.
Whatever you do, it's the same
6,
count
whatever,
all the way around.
Whatever you want to do, yeah. And it is fantastic. I have found when I struggle with racing thoughts, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep, I'm like out like a light when I do that. So that's a helpful technique for just calming I find it to be helpful for calming the mind. Every body is different, so it might not work for somebody, but I find that square breathing, box breathing is a fantastic technique. We use it when working with people who are having anxiety attacks. It helps calm the sympathetic nervous system, and it just focuses and centers your mind, your body, and everything onto that breath and those counts.
Okay, so just do the same count all the way around. And then I have one that I don't even know what they're called, but where I like say I'll go in for 4, hold, and then I'll go out for 8. Like I'll double the exhale.
Absolutely. You can do. That's another technique that people can use. Yeah, exactly.
Either way, we're just kind of calming our nervous system.
Right. In certain traditions, I don't know if you know about alternate nostril breathing. That's another technique that can be used, is alternate nostril breathing. And that, again, has a similar kind of a concept of, again, slowing down your nervous system and then just focusing your breath. So when we say come back to the breath, we're just saying come back to the focus and center of breath. That's what we're going to use as our focus.
And then mantra. So what is a mantra? Like if we want to do a meditation, we want to add a little mantra into it. What is that?
Yeah. So are you familiar with Yoga Nidra, the practice of Yoga Nidra with Sankalpa?
I'm not. Tell everybody.
Yeah. So Sankalpa it's kind of like setting an intention, and it's done in the practice of Yoga Nidra, which is like yogic sleep.
Yes.
Again, it's like another Sanskrit word. It means respect, desire, or intention. It's an idea that you formulate in your mind at the beginning of that practice. And then it's a brief statement that you repeat to create the life that you want. So there's that one practice. But as far as a mantra practice, there are obviously different. Like in the Hindu tradition, mantra is when you are using japa mala and you're saying a mantra. It's just a focus. Again, it's like breath, but it's words.
Okay, so give us a couple examples. Like what would an example of a quick mantra be? Just Om. Okay.
Yeah. So you could do Om as your mantra. You could do I am abundant and filled with light, or I am abundant. You can basically turn anything you want to in a mantra. You can say it aloud. You can say it silently. It just helps you move yourself into that state of awareness, like a profound state of awareness of that thing.
Can it just be one,
Om is
like
the universal,
one word, or would it?
Yeah, one word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Om is like the first sound. Is that what it is? I mean, the first known sound. And so it's very...
Om is like the original. It's the big daddy of mantras.
Yeah, okay.
It symbolizes... ultimate reality claimed to be the most, like it's the most powerful. And there's debate on how to pronounce it. Sadhguru actually has an amazing video on how to properly pronounce Om.
Okay.
We say Om, you know, and even like, you know, how Americans, Canadians, whatever, pronounce like chakra. It's like chakra. Like it depends which language you're saying it in, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I usually tend to I learned chakra, so that's how I pronounce it. So there's different ways, and Sadhguru actually has a really, really great video on YouTube on how to pronounce Om. So like it's, some people say Om, but it's supposed to be Aum, like A-U-M. Aum. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the sound of the universe. Essentially, that's what it boils down to. That's what they say it is. It's the sound of the universe.
And I feel like if we're doing our very best to pronounce it how it feels right to us, like God knows, the universe knows what we're saying.
I think so too.
Right?
I don't think he's going to worry.
I don't think we're getting graded on our pronunciation.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
I don't think you need to worry about. I mean, okay. I will say though, like I always try to be respectful, like, cause you know, I've traveled different parts of the world and I've practiced in different places. And obviously like if I'm practicing with Sikhs, I'm going to say or do things a certain way. With
Hindus, we got to be
like,
respectful to the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's a big thing in meditation and yoga and all this stuff. As happens when something kind of goes mainstream, and especially mainstream in America, you've got to be careful. You need to balance the respect of the tradition and where it comes from with like what it's turned into. So, and again, I'm not being the yoga police. I'm certainly not that. But I do now see, you know, again, having had firsthand experiences with different cultures and, you know, different spiritual practices and all that stuff. You just need to ask them if you're in that setting.
Yes, there's a difference between when you're meditating in your own home and if you're going to go do a process, you know, if you're going to go meditate with the monks, like you need to educate yourself first.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't just roll in there. Yeah,
exactly.
We have to be respectful of each culture. I agree with that completely.
And that's why I preface a lot of what I say with, you know, again, I'm learning all kinds of different things from all different people. I'm interpreting it as me, Natalie. And, you know, I mostly in my meditative practice and my spiritual discussions and stuff, I'm with North American people. So I'm speaking from that perspective. I may change what I say if I'm, you know, dealing with someone from here in Uganda or a friend from India or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So, because here's a term that and we've westernized probably the hell out of this. Namaste.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all saying it. What does it mean? When is it
funny.
Appropriate?
Oh man, there's like literal articles written about this. It's so
sure.
funny. Okay, so I mean, it's from the Hindu culture and it's namaste, and it just is a peaceful hello or goodbye. I've had many discussions about this actually with different yoga teachers, and there was a big yoga community in Kampala, and the woman who heads it is from India, and I talked to her about this.
Yeah. Also,
namaskar is another similar word that you'll hear.
Okay.
I think it's funny. You know what? I don't say it personally. I run a meditation channel on YouTube, and I don't use it personally because I think it's just become kind of like a cliched.
Yeah, it's been overused at this point.
Thing in Western culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my personal.
I mean, we're putting
opinion.
It on T-shirts.
Yeah, and I've heard like really weird things like namaste. Like I've seen T-shirts with like, you know, kind of making it into a joke, which I don't find personally. Again, other people may have a different opinion. I don't find that respectful. It's a beautiful word. And I think in the right setting, and if you know what you're saying and people all get it, you know.
Yes, like if it's at the very end of a yoga session in a group. Okay.
Or beginning. Yeah, exactly. It's a greeting, a hello or goodbye. It's a personal thing. It's a very personal thing. I just choose not to, just because I feel like a lot of people say things or do things in our culture, in North American culture, that they're not quite really aware of the root of.
Yes,
and
a lot. Mm-hmm.
It's great. And I think it's great to teach on that. I think it's super great to teach on that and to educate people. But, you know, I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter. So words are important to me, like maybe more than a lot of people. I'm a writer, you know. Words mean so much to me, and I know they have so much power. My MO is to use them in the correct way, and if I'm using a word, I want to make sure that everyone understands actually what the intention of that word is and why we're saying it. And I find we do a lot of things by rote in certain ways and certain things. Not everybody, but I'm just more mindful of that. So yeah, essentially it's a greeting. It's a greeting. It's like bonjour. It's the way that Yeah, but it's just done in those settings. But I mean, if you go to India, they say that's just like their greeting, right?
Yes.
Or namaskar.
Yeah. And so then it's more appropriate there because you've been, like you said, to different parts of the world. You see what everyone is thinking about the Western world and what we're doing. And so I always wonder, like, because I don't want to offend people purposefully. You know?
Yeah, exactly. The funniest story, I have a funny story. So this woman, Payal Gori, she runs this yoga studio here in Kampala. Amazing lady. And I remember asking her, hey, because you can't buy yoga cushions here. And I had hurt my back some years back and I thought, I wonder if a cushion would help me or whatever. And she's like, you people and your cushions.
We got to have the meditation pillows. We got to, yeah.
No, she's like, you guys have these fancy, we just use a pillow or nothing, like a mat. Like you don't need a cushion.
Oh, they don't have all the little extra tools. The cushions and the little blocks.
Yeah, because you can, if you go on Amazon, you see these like, fancy cushions.
You can spend a fortune getting a bunch of yoga stuff.
All this fancy stuff, right? And she's
really,
like,
you don't need anything but your own body, right?
Exactly. But she goes, I get it though. It's about comfort. And I was like, yeah, it's more just like for comfort. She's like, yeah, anything really can
because
work.
for me, like with meditation, if I'm not comfortable, my brain is already moving too fast. And so if you add in
I feel you,
lower back pain and my left hip hurting, I'm getting nowhere fast. Like, nope.
I feel that. And see, I feel that.
Gonna be like, why even bother? Yep. Why even bother? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think comfort is important.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing some internal work, you're meditating with like some serious purpose. I mean, you got to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Oh, you totally do.
Okay. And I have to.
Yeah. You really do.
So I just got done with a little episode where I recommended Insight Timer to everyone.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Because it's one of the apps I use. So how this got by me this whole time, because I've done your book, I've done all your things. And you're on Insight Timer. And so this is funny because yesterday morning, I was like going to do a quick meditation. And so I'm in my Insight Timer and I just grabbed one I already like had bookmarked, whatever. And is this the weirdest synchronicity ever? It was one of yours. I had no idea.
That's so cool.
I had no idea. I had already done your meditation.
That's so funny.
It was the one called, it's like guided morning meditation for a positive day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's not super long. It's like, I don't know, 14, 15. I don't remember how long it is.
It's a short one.
But it's a great start to the day. And also you have a lot of ones that are just like talks.
I just started posting them. Yeah.
So they're almost like, I don't know, what are the talks? Explain what the talks are.
So I just wanted, so I mean, it's crazy because I uploaded those ones a few years ago before we moved to the village, and it's been really hard to upload, but I finally was able to have to literally go to a cellular tower.
Oh God, just to get something uploaded.
Modem at the tower to upload. It's crazy. Yeah. So when I was planning out the next set of meditations and things I wanted to do, I wanted to add in, because I started getting into doing like activation prayers, and I wanted to do like pep talks because I find they're helpful for me. And honestly, when I go on YouTube,
that's what they kind of felt like. It's like if you're sitting home and you have no one, like you just feel alone. You're in your hermit phase of this journey and you just feel alone. And it'd be like, it'd be nice for someone to like prop me up for the day. Say some really kind things to me. I want it to be like that
friend in your ear.
Yes. Yeah. And so I listened to one and I was like, oh, this is nice. She's like, this is like calling your best friend and she's pumping you up for the day.
Exactly.
Like, no,
that's exactly what I wanted.
Yes. So she's got these talks on Insight Time, you guys. And then also you've got that. And then there was, explain this morning rampage. And you can, and you pick the beat. Like I did like the hip hop background because I like something with a little more beat to it sometimes.
Exactly. So it's choose your own kind of. I did all these versions. So basically, I love Abraham Hicks and I've read like all the books. And Esther Hicks has a Good Morning Rampage. And one of my very dear friends introduced me to this years ago. And we did it like every morning. And I was like, I'm going to write my own just so it's more catered to myself. Yeah. And then I thought, hey, that would be super cool to kind of use the concept. It's like a templated, like a concept of like kind of hyped up morning affirmations, a rampage kind of thing. And make it into something new, a new one. So that was a couple years ago. I did that one. And I did, I think, 9 versions. There's ones on YouTube that have like a visual to them. And then there's the ones on Insight Timer that are audio. And then I did one with no music, because on Insight Timer, you can actually add music if you want. So yeah, I just decided to do my own version. It was kind of the ones that I had written out for myself. And again, I just thought, well, why don't I just share it?
No, those are fun too. So definitely check it out at Insight Timer. And they can just type in your name, Natalie Brown, and like all your stuff comes up.
It should, yeah. And
it did, because then when I saw that I had been doing yours, I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I typed it in, and that's where I
I know this person.
I was like, why does this sound so familiar?
That's
yes.
So cool. Oh, that's awesome.
No,
yeah.
I love it. No,
and then what I did was I made them all available on peacelandhaven.com as downloadables, and like a full bundle of them. So
we have all those links in the show notes.
Yeah, they have ads on them. There's nothing I can do about that because I'm not a monetized channel. So like they have ads. So I just thought, okay, well, let me just put them available for download. Yeah.
And so then go to your website and download them. You can go to Insight Timer. And if you have that, if you're signed up for more than the free version, you can download them, bookmark them, all the things. Okay. So I just thought that was fun because I just had told everybody some of my tips, and one was Insight. It was some of the apps, and that was one of them. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is fun. Okay. So that's perfect. Now, okay. So we talk about this a lot when we're meditating, setting our intention.
Yes.
So what does it mean when someone says to set your intention? Because we'll hear that before we start yoga or a meditation.
Right.
Or sometimes I'll just set my intention for the day during a morning meditation.
Sure, yeah.
So what is setting your intention, and how do we go about that?
Yeah. And you literally just kind of said it when you were talking about setting an intention for your day. Most of us like to sort of kind of know what we're doing in our day instead of just getting up and, and that's the same for meditation. Essentially, it's just reflecting on why you're sitting down to meditate. What do you want to cultivate or explore during your session? And then you can just kind of think about that and articulate to yourself your intention clearly. It can literally be like just a word. It could be a phrase. It could be a goal. Like you could meditate on the word peace. So like if you want a peaceful day, you could set your intention on the word peace, and you can just meditate on peace or self-compassion. Or if you need to focus, you set the intention to have focus or letting go. You just want to bring that into your state of consciousness, and you can do it silently or you can do it out loud. But the thing is, there's a difference between an intention and a goal, right? And the thing is attachment. So while you're setting the intention, it's just really important to release any attachment to a specific outcome. You don't want to be like, I must, do this. It's just to guide your practice. It's not to make expectation or pressure on you. It's just a guiding light for your meditation. Okay. So like a goal, if we were setting our goal for the day, let's just say someone works in sales. Our goal might be, okay, I'm going to hit all my numbers today. I'm going to hit all my sales goals. Okay. That's a sales goal. So that's not necessarily what we bring into meditation. Into meditation, we will set an intention of, would it be for that salesperson then? But set an intention of, it could be motivation. It could be good communication. It could be focus. It could be just focus. Exactly. So it's just your intention for how your mind and body, the place you want to be in, right? For that. Exactly. And so it's not necessarily a specific goal. It's just like a feeling. Right. And it's about, again, we go back to the concept of being and not doing. Mm-hmm. It's more about the state of being that you want to be in. And, also I want to say that you can be flexible with this. Your intention, you might go into your meditation with a certain intention, and spirit will speak to you, or you'll connect to something, and you can adapt that as your meditation time unfolds. It's a gentle guide. It's not like a fixed, endpoint, and there's no pressure to achieve an outcome. It's the process and that present experience. Getting ready to set an intention for your meditation. You have just no idea what your intention is today. You don't know. Like sometimes then I'll just say just show me what I need to know today then. Or you could just say, show me. Or I don't know. That's your intention. Show me. Or is your intention that you want to connect with your higher self spirit guide? So you could just say connect with me, connect. Or just something really simple. So if we don't know what our intention even is, we're not even there yet. We don't know. It could just be something you're working through. Like if you're doing shadow work, it might be, you might be like forgiveness. Forgive myself or forgive others or something. Because what we're doing is setting our intention to ourselves, our
our soul, our higher self? And is it kind of an intention we're letting our spirit team know? Like, does that seem appropriate?
Setting that intention, and what it helps to do is it helps to create a mindful and a meaningful space for your inner exploration and growth.
Okay.
So you're just allowing yourself, whether that's connecting to God, spirit, like whatever you call higher power, whether it's connecting to your highest self. Again, it's just a gentle guide in that session.
Yes. Okay, here's what I need to ask you, because I had another meditation mention this. Because, okay, so it's like alpha, beta, theta.
Mm-hmm.
These are the different.
Theta.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What do you know about this gamma? Gamma. I had someone tell me gamma, and it was like, she said she would hit gamma. She called it gamma. And it was like amazing, like the most amazing level of meditation. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? I'm researching it and I haven't figured it out.
Yeah. And it's funny because this is a new thing for me, because I started a couple of other YouTube channels where I'm working with binaural beats and solfeggio tones.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I'm just starting to research myself. What I understand gamma is it's higher cognitive functioning. So it's like helps you process information in like the different areas of your brain. So it's about cognitive performance. That's my understanding of it.
Okay. So if you can get into a gamma.
Yeah.
level.
They say it's associated with like a flow state. So it's like enhanced perception, focus, problem solving. So gamma would be like a good thing to do. Like, let's say if you're running, like if you had like a song with a gamma wave, like something that it triggers gamma waves. So it's basically just cognitive function is what I understand it.
Yeah, because she was saying it was like, I mean, she pronounced it like gamma, like orgasmic brain feeling. Okay. Like real good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So listen. All right. Well, when you're learning about that. So when you figure all that out, make sure you come back and tell me all about it.
That's a new thing for me.
It's
so funny
I play with frequencies too.
Yeah. Like as a singer, I know the power of music, and I've been in so many studios and written and sung so many songs. And, it's funny how I didn't really know much about like the actual frequencies,
Isn't that
the
crazy?
hertz levels and all that stuff. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's really cool to study it, but that's a new area for me personally.
Okay, cool. Yes. All right. Well, when you figure that out, let me know.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So tell us some really simple tips and tricks if we're just starting out on our meditation journey. Like, what are some important things, even just really simple things we can do?
The number one thing is be kind to yourself.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are really tough on themselves when they begin a meditation practice and they think they should meditate for hours or, no thoughts and all. That's garbage. As you read in my book, that's the number one myth. It's not about having no thoughts in a complete state of blankness. It's just...
No, it's impossible.
Exactly. 30 seconds is cool. Like, honestly, anything is cool. So,
anything, definitely. I mean, we want to work our way up to at least 5-10 minutes, I think, for the best benefit.
What feels good for you?
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I think, is good for some people, maybe works for some, maybe not others, but setting a time and place. I'm a weirdo because I'm like a musician and I kind of have a weird, crazy schedule and I live on the other side of the world. So I generally do mine in the morning.
It's hard to set a time.
Yeah, but I think it does help some people who need a routine. I think it's a really good thing to do. Plus, I do think too, especially for busy moms or, parents, whatever, I think that time is sacred. And I think that making that known in your household is very important.
Yeah.
So just saying, this is my time, my meditation time, and people have honor, people need to honor
don't
and respect
bug me.
that.
Yeah.
Getting comfortable. We spoke about this before, whatever that means for you, if it's lying down, if it's sitting in a chair, if it's sitting up, if it's cross-legged, if it's your legs behind your ears, whatever. Do what works for you.
Yes.
And be comfortable. When you do sit, I think sitting tall is helpful. It does help with the chakra energy to just, align your spine and be in that position. And I think, breathing is very important. We talked to coming back to the breath. And I do think breath is a focus and a central point of meditation. It's the easiest thing to focus on and to be conscious of and just say, okay, my mind's wandering, come back to my breath. Just let me focus on my breath, pay attention to my breath. So I think that's a really important thing to do. And then the other one, which I had put in my tips in the book, is to notice your excuses, because you know what? We're humans and we're going to make an excuse for why we can't meditate. And so I think I would just ask myself the question, why is this thought or this action preventing me from what's underneath that? What's a layer deeper? What's a layer deeper in that well that is preventing me from sticking to my meditation
So if you're
practice?
using the meditation journal, like in her book or your own little meditation journal, you have to make yourself put down that you didn't meditate, is what you're saying. Like you're accountable to yourself. And why? Like too busy, didn't feel good. Like whatever emotion. What was it? Because then if you look back at your excuses, like you're probably going to think, well, this just sounds lame. Like I said I didn't have time.
And also,
but guess what? I had time. I scrolled my phone for 30 minutes, didn't I? Right. And you kind of almost look back at yourself and you go, nope, these don't hold water.
Yeah. And I think you should also be even kinder to yourself because I'll be honest, when I first got back into meditation after my breakdown in 2018 and 2019, I was scared to be with myself, Jen. I'm going to be honest and say that I actually was kind of scared to sit there with myself. And I had to really examine that and say, okay, Nat, why is this hard? Because I would start to feel emotions that I didn't maybe want to feel. And okay, that leads to other things like maybe you need psychotherapy or maybe there's other things that you need. But sometimes that's a signal that, okay, being alone with my thoughts doesn't feel good. And okay, why doesn't that feel good?
Yeah. And then you got to dig in on that. And a lot of time that's when, because I did the same thing when I was like really working through some stuff, you can find spiritual practitioners, but also just therapy, just a therapist.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Get them on board.
Absolutely.
And we can do that, online now too. We don't have to leave our homes. Put together whatever team you need when you're working through all this stuff. Because if you can't sit alone with your own thoughts, that's a big red flag.
Yeah. It's a signal that there's something that needs attention. And there could be many different things, And some people, like my sister-in-law has ADHD and meditation is really hard for her. So there are different types like the object focus meditation that are helpful for that,
And so, you know what? I wanted to ask you about that again anyway, because you started with the ADHD, because I know a lot of people with ADHD. Okay. And
a lot of people have.
I feel like it's becoming more and more prevalent, especially, I don't know, in the US. I don't know if that's everywhere in the world or if it's just us. But so you talked about this candle, because having an ADHD mind, having something for their brain to focus on the movement of, is that the theory behind that?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. That's the theory behind that one. And that's why movement meditation is often also good for people with ADHD, like a walking meditation or,
where your body's moving.
Yeah. I mean, I even did a tea ritual meditation. I haven't posted it on YouTube. I'm going to see if it's too weird or not. But like literally enjoying a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you can focus on the ritual of that particular act, but be in meditative state while you do it. You can eat and meditate. You can do lots of things and meditate if that works for you. If it puts you into that state where, again, you're able to connect to your higher self, separate yourself from what is your mind and your body.
Yeah.
Anything goes. And if you struggle with ADHD, you might want to try something like that.
So the thing is, we're all told to close our eyes during meditation because it turns off those senses. It just makes it easier. If you've got earbuds in with a certain...
And for some people, it works.
Eyes closed. Yeah. So you're saying for people with ADHD, they may not be able to meditate with their eyes closed. They may not. Because obviously to look at the flame, we got to have our eyes open. And so if you were guiding someone with ADHD to do a meditation, okay, so you've got your candle, fake or real, and you're staring at this flickering flame, then what do we do next in our head?
You're literally doing the same thing as you would. You're setting an intention. You can repeat a mantra. You could just, be there. You could use a guided meditation while you're looking at that object. That is one thing I actually do want to do and put it on my YouTube channel, is literally do like a specific candle focus meditation, because I have a lot of people around me who have ADHD and they really want to meditate, but they're like, I can't do it.
I can't clear my mind.
I've been thinking of different ways. Yeah. To like, how can we put people into that focused meditative state if breath isn't that can center or focus them? Because they have those little those spinning wheels and stuff for people who have
the fidget spinners.
Attention. The fidget spinners and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the same concept. You're just trying to focus your attention. I mean, meditation is about focusing your attention. So and again, this may be in opposition to what is being preached out there as proper, but if someone has an issue, you want to try to find a way to accommodate that issue and find a way to get them into that same space, that same meditative state, but maybe it's just through a different way.
Yes, because we're all different.
Experiment.
One thing's not going to work for everybody, just like with everything else. And so watching the flame or the flicker, or even like on our
Mm-hmm.
TVs, we can put on like a fake fire, flickering fire. You know what I mean? That has stuff going on. Okay. And then maybe if you have ADHD, maybe you need that fidget spinner in your hand or a texture that you can mess with. And that's still totally meditation. You just do those and then you go through this stuff in your mind. So you could put a guided meditation on from Insight Timer, from your website, wherever. But maybe if you have ADHD, maybe while you're doing it, you need to have something in your hand. Or maybe you need to not have your eyes closed. You need to be staring at like the flickering fire or something like that, but still listening to it, because that might be how your brain is meant to be tapped into, because we're so different. Like you said, like you're a projector. And so, you have to do things a certain specific way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And, we have this conversation, now about talking about neurotypical people. I mean, who's neurotypical really? I mean,
none of us
I think there's so much variation in
Yes.
in brain chemistry, with every human
There's
being.
no
I don't think there's
real
such a thing as
normal.
typical.
There's no real normal.
Right. If your listeners were to take anything away from our conversation today, is in practice of meditation, whatever allows you to create that space and to connect to your higher self, it's okay, whatever it is. It doesn't need to be this perfect practice with this and this, and it just simple and what works for you, as long as you're putting that meditative time in and you're connecting to your higher self or your spiritual power, whatever it is, and you're creating that space between what is you, your body, your thoughts, and your higher self. To me personally, anything goes. You do what you need to do to have that time with yourself.
Yeah, there's no way to do it wrong. If you're sincerely trying to do this for the benefit of yourself, for others, you won't do it wrong. And I know we talked about not appropriating or whatever from other people's culture, but if you do this privacy in your home, you just do whatever works for you. Because we're probably not at the point we're going to go sit with the monks anyway. I mean,
probably not.
Probably not.
I haven't done that either.
It would be cool. I had someone on the other day who
I'd love to.
did
I think
that.
it'd be super cool. But
Yeah.
I kind of separate things out between like what I would consider secular meditation and like spirit, like Zen Buddhism or
Yes,
japa.
more specific. Yeah.
I think there is a secular type of what I would call it. Maybe there's a better word for it, a secular meditation. And that, that's about getting your mind and body and spirit and everything in alignment. And as I had mentioned in the book, there's so many benefits to meditation, so many spiritual benefits, so many health benefits, but it does go beyond spiritual. It goes to the brain chemistry, it goes to your body, it goes to alignment, it goes to so many things. And it's a beautiful, wonderful 360 practice that, again, I think everyone should try it. It's so fabulous. It helps so much,
Yes. And don't give up if you think you're doing it. Just try a different way. Try something else. Yeah. Go for a walk, put some music on, do whatever you have to do.
Swimming. I mean, I've heard people get into meditative state swimming, so many things.
Anything. And usually, you got into that meditative state maybe because you have this clarity afterwards that you didn't have before. Like before the run, before the swim, before the whatever it is, all of a sudden, like maybe you have some creative idea and you're like, oh, well, that was because I let my brain rest enough to let it come through.
For me, when I have a really good session, I just feel all good. I feel all good and I feel like centered. I feel like I'm open. I'm receptive and I'm present. I'm very present. I'm just there. I'm just in my day. I'm in my everything, my body, my mind, my soul, everything's there.
And it works to set your day up. It works to set your sleep up, healing, whatever you got going on.
Yep, totally. Yep.
Okay. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I feel I've been drilling this into everybody at this meditation, but it's only because it's so important and it's so easy and free.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say to that, like, when you discover meditation and the benefits, you really, it's like being a fanaticist in a religion in a way sometimes, because you want everyone to experience it, but you have to be ready. I mean, Jen, I've been meditating on and off for 30 years and like, it's crazy how it's been different in different periods of my life. And right now it's impacting me in a very different way. My practice,
each phase is going to help us in a different way.
So different. You get revealed things or you experience things as you're, emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally ready for them. So it's like, wave the magic wand and spread the word, but people will come. I believe people will come to it. I mean, so many people are, Jen. I mean, if you think about even 10 years ago, I mean, the difference in the the discussion around
Oh my gosh.
meditation. It was
Everyone's
not
opening up
mainstream.
much more.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because yoga kind of hit the Western world here and we all caught up with that, and meditation's right with it. Okay. So you guys are going to, you got to go get her book. You got to go to her website because she's got all kinds of resources there too. And then what's next for you? What's next? I know you're moving.
Yeah.
But what's next for you on your spiritual journey? Because you have a day job, you do marketing and all kinds of fun stuff. So spiritual journey wise, where are you heading?
Yeah, I want to transition out of that. Like I said, I'm in a 1-year program for being a life coach, and I'm hoping to get International Coach Federation certified.
Okay.
We'll be moving back to Canada, and I want to start my coaching practice. I think I'm not going to be niche down. I want to see where I can help people the most. And I'm going to let, people tell me where that's at and use the plethora of skills that I've learned in different, areas to hopefully help them. But as far as my spiritual journey, I'm an avid seeker, and I'm continuing. I've had quite an interesting, a difficult sometimes experience here in Uganda because there is a sense of isolation. You live in a little village, you can't speak the language, the culture is completely different.
Oh, yeah.
So it has opened my eyes a lot, but also forced me to kind of go inside a lot more. So I hope to continue that seeking and all of the wonderful, enriching lessons I've learned from, 9 years living here and being exposed to such different things in all realms, really challenged so many of every thought and perception I've had about humans and life and everything, really, religion and, everything. I want to just continue. I'm becoming less I was very goal oriented as a younger person. And I feel like I'm being, not to sound wishy-washy, but I want to kind of be led more by whatever's out there to lead me and to go to places where, I'll learn more and be open to that path. A continual seeker. I've been a seeker ever since I was a little girl, and I think that will always continue. It just gets deeper and more profound as I get older. Wisdom brings so much perspective, living more life, for sure. And my goal is to just help others in whatever way I can. If it's a book, if it's a song, if it's a meditation, if it's whatever, I just want to help others help themselves. That's really the whole point, of everything that I do.
And is your husband on the same type of journey with you? Is he woo-woo or not really?
No, he's not really. I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagram, but he's a type 5 with a 6 wing. So he's a real analyst thinker. He's definitely open spiritually. He's not like woo-woo like me. He's more private, I think, about it. We have lots of amazing philosophical discussions about different things. He's not so overt. I think he's just very private with his way.
Which is okay, because
he's always been.
We don't need people to do exactly what we're doing on our journey. Yeah.
No, and I love that about us, is that we have different perspectives, and I always learn from him. He's such an amazing teacher. I mean, he's very spiritually profound, but not like in maybe the way I practice it or I learn. He just has different things that he comes out with,
Sure, because he was raised a different way and has his own set of beliefs too. He was. And he's a real interesting guy because he's literally the black sheep of his family too, like I was. And he is so opposite to much of his family tradition, like all that stuff. He's not really into any of it really. And he's a real science guy. He loves science. So it's like we can talk about theta and beta and gamma and all this stuff. And he's like gets into the science of it more, which I think is really cool because it balances out like my spiritual approach. So we have these amazing discussions that like really open my mind because he really is into astrophysics and like all of like that kind of stuff. So so that meshes well together though. That's great.
It does. I love it.
I think that we're not meant to find a person exactly like us. We're supposed to find a person that balances us and complements us. So we don't need to be the same. He
challenges me. I mean, we've been married 25 years and, the man constantly challenges me. He puts a mirror in front of my face, in a loving way. And he challenges me to be better. He helps me grow so much, and we're very cool in the way that we're sort of yin yang, but we mix so well in everything we do, from our music to whatever we've done. We always kind of complement each other, which is fantastic. But the man challenges me and I love that. I love that about him, that he really does. Why are you thinking about it this way? Or what about this perspective, whatever. And I adore that about him.
Oh, that's awesome. And he's about to go on a whole new adventure too, because he's heading back to Canada. That's going to be different for him again.
Well, I mean, he lived in America from when he was 15. We're both we're going to be both in our 50s.
Yeah.
He lived most of his life in North America.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm even curious because I mean, everyone's like, oh, it's changed so much in the last, 9-10 years. So I'm curious to see what it's going to be like. Yeah, I think so. So it will be an adventure. Everyone says, oh, get ready for the reverse culture shock. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, maybe,
Yeah, maybe not. We'll see. Yeah, things are changing and you're getting back just in time to be on the same border with me during all the crazy.
I know. Oh, girl, don't even. It's just madness. I'm like, it's Africa. We laugh because it's like America's turning into Africa. Well, you certainly have a white dictator.
You know what? We have so much
Trump
going
acts like
on.
an African dictator.
Yeah, what a crazy time to head back over to North America.
I know. And we have an election. Canada will just have their election when we move back because we have an election in October. So it'll be interesting to see what
happens there
goes,
too.
But I will say this, though. After 9 years living in East Africa, even if the craziest crap happens in North America, there's at least systems and checks and balances somewhat in place there.
Okay.
When you've had an experience of living in a democracy in Uganda, which is not a democracy,
right? Just labeled that way,
or a dictatorship. Really, quite frankly, the guy's been in power for 40 years. Your perspective on politics and how the system works. And again, always fight the system, always challenge, always, I'm a big advocate of that. But when you've seen how crap works here, you go home and you're like, even if all hell breaks loose, it will still be a modicum of reasonableness.
There's some checks and balances in place at least. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because because our government's not just turning off our internet when they feel like it. I feel like we would all be up in arms.
We had no internet for the last election. He turned it off for a week. There was no communication, none. Couldn't say anything, no journalists, nothing. And that's the thing. When you see here what they do, if they don't want people talking, I mean, it's not like everyone uses the internet here. It's very low penetration because people are very poor. So they don't even have, many don't
access
have. I think
to
it's 28% internet penetration. That includes businesses and everybody, right? So that's not very much.
So it's much easier to let people know what they should be thinking and should be doing instead of having a lot of information.
They shut our power off. They shut water off. They shut everything off, Yeah.
Okay, Natalie, this has been so helpful. I think you're really helping everyone really dig into this meditation part of the journey because it's really important, you guys, whether you have started meditating or not, you just got to do it. Don't put it off. You're not going to do it wrong. Whatever you do is going to help. It's going to benefit no matter what you do, and you're just going to get better and better at it. So make sure you guys head to Natalie's. It's all in the show notes as usual, you guys. All the links, all the things to find her. And it sounds like she's going to be easier to get a hold of when she gets back to Canada. once she gets back to the solid internet, we'll see. But yeah, So check it all out. Check her book out. Like I said, it's great because it's got the journal already included in it with little boxes and prompts. So you can organize your thoughts. Sometimes just a blank piece of paper is too overwhelming to journal. This is my opinion. So I like when I get prompts or little, boxes to fill in, like a homework assignment. I like that. That makes it easier for me. Okay. Cool. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm excited to keep an eye on what you do next and check out all your meditations you're uploading on Insight Timer into your website. And I'm excited to see what's next for you. I think there's going to be big things. It feels like big things for you.
I'm excited. I'm just going to let the universe kind of direct my next steps.
Tell you what's next.
I have some ideas of what I want to do. Yeah, I just really want to help people. And I'm super excited to finish my coaching program. I finished in December and to launch my coaching business. And meditation will be just a really big part of it to help with that somatic awareness through the processes. So I'm super excited about that. Very, very excited.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. I totally appreciate you taking your time out in your evening, my morning, your evening. Yeah. This has been fun.
It's been amazing, Jen.
Yes.
And I just want to say, I think what you're doing is so fantastic. I loved reading your bio. I think your story is so cool. And I love that you're doing this. I think it's
thanks.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Really,
this
really
whole
awesome.
podcast it's been, like you said, you're waiting for the universe to tell you it's next. This is what I was told was next, right? Like
I
this
love
was
that for you.
This was next.
Yeah.
This was next is getting the word out there and sharing in a way that people could like bond with it, do it. Yeah. Just normal old everyday people like me. Yep.
And all of us.
All of us. Awesome. We're all working on stuff just to make it better for all of us, the collective. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen.
Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much. And I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.